Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel, 6-Path Weeb here. Today, we're diving into part 2 of our exciting fanfiction series, What If Naruko Was Raised by the Legendary Sannin? Before we begin, a quick disclaimer. This content is created purely for entertainment and discussion. I do not own any of the anime footage featured in this video, all rights and credits belong to their respective creators and copyright holders. Now, without further ado, let's get started. Later that day, cheerful voices echoed through the village, particularly that of Inuzuka Kiba and the joyful barks of his loyal pup Akamaru. Team 8, consisting of Hyuga Hinata, Aburame Shino, and Inuzuka Kiba, had successfully passed their Junon exams under the guidance of their Jounin sensei, Yuhi Kurenai. Yahoo! We did it, Akamaru. We're officially Junon. Time to celebrate, Kiba exclaimed, tossing Akamaru into the air and catching him with a grin. Kurenai watched them with a soft smile, her ruby eyes gleaming with pride. It was her first team, and they had done well. Alright, Team 8, let's go to Ichiraku Ramen. It's on me, she announced warmly. That brought cheers from Kiba and happy barks from Akamaru, while Hinata gave a quiet but sincere, thank you, sensei. As usual, Shino gave a small nod, keeping his usual quiet demeanor. Kurenai shook her head with a chuckle at the dynamic mix of her students. A spirited dog Nin, a reserved Hyuga heiress, and a thoughtful insect user. Quite the team, she thought as they walked through the busy Konoha streets. When they reached Ichiraku Ramen, the familiar sound of Kuji eagerly calling for another bowl greeted them. Kiba and Akamaru rushed inside, with Shino and Hinata following close behind. Kurenai spotted her fellow Jounin Asuma Sarutobi already seated and greeted him with a smile as she joined him. So your team made it too? She asked. Asuma nodded, exhaling smoke from his cigarette before glancing over at his students. Yep. Meet the new Ino Shikacho, he said, referring to Ino Yamanaka, Shikamaru Nara, and Kuji Akimichi, who were seated nearby. I wonder if Naruko's team passed, Kurenai said thoughtfully, clearly curious but unsure of the results. Meanwhile, over at the table with Team 8 and Team 10. You all passed too? This is going to get complicated, Shikamaru muttered, already sounding a little tired despite the good news. Kuji waved at Kiba, who grinned and returned the gesture. Shino quietly took a seat next to Kuji, silently scanning the ramen menu. Ino, ever eager for conversation, plopped down beside Hinata with a cheerful greeting. As usual, Hinata responded with a quiet nod, and the two girls began chatting while Shikamaru attempted to tune out Kiba's enthusiastic storytelling. Hey, do you think Sasuke's team passed too? Kiba asked curiously. His tone suggested he was more interested in their team's Jounin than the students themselves. Shikamaru shrugged, accepting a bowl of ramen with a quiet, thanks, before breaking his chopsticks and beginning to eat. Ino answered before Shikamaru could. Of course Sasuke-kun passed. He probably didn't even need help. I bet he handled their sensei all on his own, she said dreamily. That earned a quiet chuckle from both Shikamaru and Kuji, confusing Ino. What's so funny? She asked, frowning. We're just saying. You're really underestimating Naruko, Shikamaru said calmly, the humor leaving his face. Why's that? You know her? Kiba asked, now even more intrigued. Shikamaru nodded. Yeah, me and Kuji have known her for 6 years. She's one of the most reliable people I know, and someone I respect a lot. As Shikamaru finished his statement, he sensed familiar chakra signatures approaching, 3 small ones, and one much stronger and familiar. He smiled and placed some money on the counter. How strong is she? Kiba asked, leaning in. Shikamaru didn't answer, instead turning to look at the restaurant's entrance as Team 7 walked in. Naruko led the group, a small smile hidden behind her mask. She was proud, this was her first team of Junon, and they had passed. I hope the Hokage was right, she thought as she took her usual seat. Hey old man, my usual please. And get the orders for my team too, Naruko called, placing her blade gently beside her, leaning it against the counter. Konohamaru and Sasuke sat beside her, while Sakura spotted Hinata and joined her and Ino at the other table. The 3 girls quickly began chatting. Sakura and Ino were more animated in their conversation, while Hinata quietly listened, occasionally glancing toward Naruko with admiration, her cheeks tinted pink. I knew Sasuke-kun would pass. I just knew it. Ino cheered. Sakura frowned at the possessive tone but held back from arguing. Ino leaned in with curiosity. So, what kind of test did your team take? That tiny sensei of yours doesn't look like much. Don't call her that, Ino, Sakura snapped lightly. It was a bell test, she explained. Sasuke even tried to take me out to get ahead. I must have blacked out for a second, and when I came to, he was just standing there like he was deep in thought. Ino laughed, only to pause as Sakura continued. I'm serious. We didn't even manage to get a bell. Not even Sasuke. Ino blinked in surprise and glanced at Naruko before looking back. Wait, really? Sakura nodded. Yeah. She's way stronger than we expected. Meanwhile, Kiba was talking with Konohamaru about the exam. I bet I could take her. She's only a bit taller than Sasuke, he said confidently. Both Konohamaru and Sasuke nearly choked on their ramen, stifling laughter at the thought. Kiba, undeterred, strode over to where Naruko was seated with Shikamaru and Kuji. Hey! I'm Inuzuka Kiba, and I challenge you to a spar, he declared boldly, hoping to impress everyone. Naruko calmly raised her hand to order another bowl of ramen, not even looking his way. Her calm demeanor didn't go unnoticed. Kiba stood frozen, confused at the complete lack of response. Behind him, Konohamaru and Sasuke exchanged amused looks as if silently asking, does he know what he's getting into? Kiba grabbed the bowl of ramen that was being handed to Naruko and, with a mischievous smirk, tossed it outside the restaurant. The noodles and broth splashed through the air, with some landing on Naruko's head. Naruko let out an annoyed sigh as she stood up and lifted Kiba slightly off the ground by the collar of his jacket. Outside. Now, Naruko said with a calm but firm tone, gently placing Kiba back on the ground. Kurenai quickly stepped forward, trying to de-escalate the situation. She knew how much Naruko valued her ramen and how seriously she took her duties as a shinobi. She may be one of the most capable young ninja, but she definitely has Tsunade-sama's fiery spirit, Kurenai thought as she tried to reason with the young jounin. Kurenai-senpai, I know we're both still adjusting to our roles as new jounin instructors, but this behavior doesn't reflect how a shinobi, or anyone, really, should act, Naruko said evenly as Kiba set Akamaru down and prepared himself. A small group of passers-by began to watch, intrigued by the unfolding tension. Realizing Naruko wouldn't back down, Kurenai sighed and turned to her student with a look of disappointment. I tried to resolve this peacefully, but you started it. Now take responsibility, she said softly, passing by Kiba, who now faced Naruko seriously. Naruko's gaze sharpened as she studied Kiba's stance. Calmly, she moved a hand toward her pouch, her body poised for movement. Let's show him that strength isn't all about size, she thought as she stepped aside at just the right moment, letting Kiba pass by harmlessly. With a flick of her finger, Naruko sent a gentle pulse that knocked Kiba off his balance, tumbling him to the ground. Your form lacks precision. And overconfidence doesn't help, Naruko stated, her eyes still locked onto Kiba and Akamaru. She motioned with her hand, signaling for Kiba to come at her again, while her other hand remained ready. Kiba turned to Akamaru, whispering quickly. You want to try that technique? We haven't mastered it yet, he muttered in concern. Akamaru barked affirmatively and nudged Kiba. All right, your way then, Kiba said, tossing a soldier pill to Akamaru, who ate it eagerly. Naruko watched with interest as Akamaru's fur shimmered with energy. Kiba crouched, heightening his senses, then called out, let's go, Akamaru. With a bark, Akamaru jumped onto Kiba's back, transforming into an identical version of him. Beast clone technique, Kiba declared as the duo charged at Naruko with synchronized speed. Get ready. Gatsuaga, Kiba shouted as they spun toward Naruko like a pair of twisters. Naruko, however, calmly revealed what looked like a paper tag. Some bystanders mistakenly thought they were explosive tags, but Shikamaru and a few others recognized them immediately. Oh no. Not those, Shikamaru thought as he quickly pulled Kuji back inside Ichiraku ramen, which was already closing up in anticipation. Naruko leapt high into the air, dodging the attack. Wrong timing, Kiba murmured as Akamaru launched at Naruko from above. But at the last second, Naruko used a substitution technique, switching places with Kiba. The next moment, Kiba was sent tumbling from his own force. Naruko swiftly placed a paper tag on both Kiba and Akamaru. She then teleported into Ichiraku as the tag activated, releasing a harmless but incredibly foul-smelling gas. Outside, the crowd suddenly reeled back. Stink gas, Kiba shouted, covering his nose as the smell overwhelmed him. Kurenai and Asuma quickly covered their faces, while nearby Jinan did the same, laughing but sympathizing. Inside, Naruko laughed heartily while Shikamaru and Kuji smirked. The ramen shop owner and his daughter shook their heads with a smile as they prepared new bowls of ramen. Suddenly, a quiet beeping sound came through Naruko's ear transmitter. She placed a hand over it. Yes, Kakashi Niazan. Team 7 passed. Thanks for the script. Aha. Got it, I'll file the report later. Shikamaru and Kuji glanced at her, confused. Naruko then revealed a small radio transmitter. Not one for speeches, are you? Shikamaru said, figuring it out. Time skip, 2 weeks later. It had been 2 weeks since Team 7 started their work together, completing basic D-rank missions and adjusting to their teamwork. Naruko never imagined returning to such beginner-level tasks, but she knew they were part of growth. After the stink tag incident, Kiba's mother, the Inuzuka clan head, voiced her concerns at the Hokage's office. With Kurenai and Asuma present, Naruko explained her actions respectfully. Fortunately, the situation was resolved peacefully, and her only consequence was assisting Kurenai in training her team, a task Naruko didn't initially enjoy but accepted gracefully. That day, Naruko was guiding Konohamaru and his teammates as they returned from a grocery run. All done? She asked. Konohamaru nodded, and Naruko took one of the heavier bags from him as they walked toward the client's home. Are we learning a new jutsu today, senpai? Sakura asked, adjusting her grip on her bags. Today we'll keep practicing chakra control, the tree climbing technique, Naruko replied as they approached the flower shop. Sakura had protested earlier, but a glance from Naruko had been enough to quiet her. Once their delivery was done, they returned to the training grounds. Naruko structured their days with missions in the morning and training in the afternoon, often joining them to help things run smoothly. After some warm-ups, Naruko introduced weighted training, adding 10 pounds to their arms and legs before starting their run. She increased her own training weights and activated a gravity enhancement jutsu. She observed Sakura during the run, encouraging her when she started slowing down. That's what happens when you skip meals for appearance, Naruko said with a gentle nudge. Sakura grumbled, while Konohamaru and Sasuke tried to suppress their laughter. 3 laps turned into 5, mainly due to Sakura's exhaustion. Back at the training field, Naruko assigned push-ups as a consequence for their complaints. Alright, drop and give me 50, Naruko announced. Sakura looked horrified, but Konohamaru and Sasuke complied quickly. This is your fault, Konohamaru said to Sakura. That's 5 extra laps, Naruko responded. Sasuke groaned. Nice going. Sakura muttered, only to see Naruko grinning. And now 100 pull-ups. Anyone else want to add more? Naruko said, leaning casually against a tree. This is training, not a break. We work as a team and respect each other. While they completed their exercises, Naruko practiced her chakra control by doing a handstand on a kunai balanced upright. Focusing her chakra into her finger, she controlled her rise and fall in the air, a demanding but efficient exercise. The training session wrapped up in just under 30 minutes as the 3 members of Team 7 completed their assigned task. Naruko, their team leader, then introduced them to a new exercise, tree climbing using chakra control. As expected, Sakura excelled and completed it quickly. She has a relatively low chakra reserve, so it's easier for her to control, Naruko thought, shifting her focus to the other 2. Sasuke managed to climb about a quarter of the distance Sakura had reached, while Konohamaru barely made it 4 feet up the trunk. Naruko quietly observed their efforts over the next few hours, watching the 2 boys gradually improve. Sakura, having completed the drill several times, sat beside Naruko looking thoroughly exhausted. Tired, Haruno? Naruko asked gently, still keeping an eye on the other 2's progress. Sakura could only manage a tired grunt as she fought off sleep. Night had already fallen, and Sasuke and Konohamaru continued climbing, albeit at a slower pace. Alright, that's enough for today. Time to rest, Naruko finally called out, settling down and listening for the sound of her teammates stopping. A moment later, 2 soft thumps told her they'd taken a break. The team continued their training routine for another week, focusing on chakra control and teamwork. When Naruko felt they were ready, she introduced them to weapon training. On the first day of their 4th week, she led them to a specialized weapons shop renowned for crafting unique tools for shinobi, similar in quality to the legendary Raijin blade. Naruko felt a sense of pride watching each of her students select a weapon that suited them. This particular smith specialized in personalized tools, activated by chakra seals. When Naruko had been promoted to Chunin, Kakashi had brought her to the same place to commission a custom weapon. Sasuke selected a sleek sword named Daihōkusha, Daywalker. Konohamaru opted for a collapsible staff that could extend or shorten through chakra manipulation. Sakura had trouble choosing, so she turned to Naruko for advice. Naruko carefully assessed Sakura's build and chakra reserves before selecting something suitable. After some thought, she handed Sakura a pair of gloves with retractable claws built into the knuckles. "Gloves?" Sakura questioned. Naruko simply pointed to a sign that read retractable claws. A smile brightened Sakura's face as she joined the others. Naruko collected the payment from the genin and finalized the purchases. Afterwards, she escorted them to the training grounds where they began learning the basics of their chosen weapons. To ensure proper instruction, Naruko assigned each of them a mentor with expertise in that weapon type. Sasuke trained under Gekko Hayate in basic sword techniques. Sakura began learning from Asuma, once his missions with Team 10 allowed him free time. She wanted to keep her efforts quiet, particularly not wanting Ino to see her progress just yet. Konohamaru received further training in staff techniques, a tradition in the Sarutobi clan, which taught weapon basics from a young age. While her team focused on honing their weapon skills, Naruko used the time to work on a personal ability, a gift from a friend that she was determined to master in secret. 2 weeks later, 4 shadowed figures darted through the forest in pursuit of a smaller fifth one. Naruko paused to take in the surroundings and picked up the trail. The target was heading east. Pressing a button on her jacket, Naruko transmitted a message through her communicator. "Target is moving east. Konohamaru, prepare to intercept. Sasuke and Sakura, support him. Confirm when the target is secured." Each member replied with a crisp acknowledgement. Konohamaru increased his speed despite the weight of his gear, while Sasuke and Sakura moved in to assist. Moments later, a soft scuffle could be heard. Then Sasuke's voice came through Naruko's earpiece. "Naruko-senpai, target is secured." Team 7 exited the forest together. Konohamaru led the way, holding a small cage. Inside was a slightly frazzled-looking cat, its ribboned ear twitching nervously. The team walked toward the administration building as villagers peeked from windows, watching them pass with admiration. Their attire was coordinated, mostly black, with individual touches in color. Each of them wore their Hitai 8 as a bandana, except Naruko, who wore her Onbu mask and had the village symbol tied around her arm. Naruko presented the mission report to the Hokage while Sakura gently returned the cat to their client, Madame Shizumi, who greeted her pet with a dramatic and overly affectionate embrace. Everyone in the room felt sympathy for the cat, understanding why it had tried to escape in the first place. After receiving their payment, Team 7 waited for their next mission. The third Hokage silently reviewed their performance while glancing briefly at Konohamaru, who was already bickering with Sasuke. Naruko gave them a gentle tap to settle them. Ahem. Team 7. 24D ranked missions completed in 2.5 months. "That's quite impressive," the Hokage said with a small smile. Team 7 lit up at the praise, casting admiring glances toward their leader, Naruko. "I believe you're ready for higher ranked assignments," the Hokage continued. Naruko gave a relieved nod, and her students grinned, except Sasuke, who simply smirked. With the successful completion of the bridge in Wave Country, Konoha has opened trade relations with the Land of Mist. Team 7, I'm assigning you the mission of delivering the trade agreement documents to Mist. Iruka handed Naruko a scroll. She opened it briefly before tossing it to Sasuke for safekeeping. "This mission will last 3 weeks, including 1 week in Wave Country," the Hokage added. "Why the extended stay?" Naruko asked. "This is a dual-purpose mission. It's a C-rank assignment for Team 7 and a B-rank one for you. We've received reports of a special artifact, referred to as the Sword, being seen in the area. Also, the local marshal requested your presence for the bridge's official opening." Naruko nodded thoughtfully, then turned to her team with a serious expression. "Act for 2 weeks. Bring all gear, including weapons." The 3 Genin scrambled to follow her instructions. Sarutobi and Iruka smiled as they watched Team 7 move with urgency and discipline. "I should prepare, too," Naruko said and disappeared in a flash. Later, the team regrouped at the North Gate, where Naruko conducted a quick inspection before they departed. Konohamaru was buzzing with excitement, asking Naruko questions non-stop. Eventually, she had him take the lead, using the march as part of their training. As they neared Wave Country, the scent of the sea greeted them. Wave used to be under heavy control from an outside company, Naruko explained, but it's now growing, thanks to trade and fishing. They passed 3 puddles without pause. Unbeknownst to them, 3 silent figures emerged moments later. These individuals wore Hitai 8 bearing the symbol of the hidden rain. The former Rain Nin, Kirisame, Hisame, and Murasame, shared a mischievous grin as they quietly pursued Team 7. Team 7 paused for lunch. Sasuke leaned against a tree with a rice ball, Konohamaru munched on a sandwich and banana, and Sakura enjoyed dango. Naruko, however, was hidden nearby, watching the rain nin closely. They're probably Chunin level, she thought as the enemies prepared to strike. The rain nin suddenly moved. Team 7 immediately responded with readiness. Sasuke and Konohamaru drew kunai, and Sakura readied her shuriken. Well, what do we have here? Kirisame said mockingly, circling them. The Genin didn't respond, just stood their ground. Murasame clashed with Sasuke, while Hisame overpowered Sakura at first. Kirisame sparred with Konohamaru, managing to knock him back. Undeterred, Konohamaru quickly regained his footing and launched projectiles from afar. Sakura adapted quickly, using agility and quick thinking to dodge Hisame's water-style techniques. Seeing the fight escalate, Team 7 performed hand signs in unison. Katen, Hosenka no Jutsu, they shouted as Sasuke launched multiple fireballs at Murasame. Kirisame now wore a frustrated expression as Konohamaru launched 6 fireballs in his direction. Seeing an opening, Konohamaru charged forward, determined to land a solid hit. Meanwhile, Sasuke found himself back-to-back with Sakura, having been pushed into a tight spot by Murasame and Hisame. Sakura. Where's Konohamaru? Sasuke asked as he blocked Murasame's kunai with precision. Still engaged with the third member of their team, Sakura responded, ducking under Hisame's water whip and launching her kunai toward the rain nin. Where's Naruko-senpai? She wondered, just as she heard Konohamaru cry out. Something's wrong. Konohamaru's in trouble, Sakura alerted Sasuke, who had also picked up on the distress in Konohamaru's voice. Sasuke made a move toward the boy, but Murasame intercepted him, preventing his advance. Konohamaru stumbled, trying to evade Kirisame's relentless attacks. The rain nin had quickly gained the upper hand, moving faster and hitting harder. Konohamaru tried to roll away, narrowly dodging Kirisame's strike, but the opponent was swift, and soon Konohamaru found himself frozen in place, unable to react. Just as Kirisame lunged forward, kunai in hand, a flash of yellow light appeared between them. Konohamaru was sent tumbling safely to the ground. Shaking and eyes squeezed shut, he braced for impact that never came. You all right, Konohamaru? Asked a familiar and reassuring voice. The blonde kunoichi, Naruko Uzumaki, stood protectively in front of him, having intervened at the perfect moment. Konohamaru looked up in awe as Sasuke and Sakura joined them seconds later. Hey, you two. Look after Konohamaru, Naruko instructed calmly, her eyes now fixed on the trio of rain nin as Murasame and Hisame moved to stand beside Kirisame. Sasuke and Sakura nodded and went to check on their teammate. Who are you, and why did you attack my team? Naruko asked, her voice even but firm. You're trespassing in our territory. We were just having a little fun, Kirisame replied with a smug tone, while the others remained silent. Naruko didn't respond with words. Instead, she dashed forward, intercepting Murasame's advance with a swift uppercut that sent him flying backward. Sasuke and Sakura could only watch in awe as Naruko engaged the rain nin, her movements smooth and calculated. Konohamaru, still shaken, looked on with admiration. The rain nin finally seemed to recognize who they were facing. No wonder we were outmatched one-on-one. We're fighting none other than Konoha's Phoenix Flame, Uzumaki Naruko, Murasame said, wiping his mouth. Konoha's Phoenix Flame? Sasuke and Sakura exchanged curious glances. In Konoha, there's only one Anbu with that strength and presence, Kirisame remarked, chuckling at Naruko's petite stature. But it doesn't matter. You four won't leave here victorious. Naruko gave him a steady look, silently daring him to continue. Say one more word, she thought, poised to strike. Kirisame began to shout, but he never got to finish. Naruko vanished and reappeared in front of him in an instant, her fist glowing with fire. Fushitsu Shoken. Phoenix Flight Fist, Naruko shouted as she delivered a powerful blow, sending Kirisame flying. Just as she turned to face the other two, water whips wrapped around her, halting her movement. Murasame and Hisame held the whips tightly, smirking in triumph. And here we thought we might have a challenge, Hisame said, tugging on the whip. Naruko gritted her teeth, struggling to break free as the two enemies closed in. At that moment, Kirisame returned and delivered a hard punch to Naruko's side. Sasuke and Sakura reacted immediately, moving to intervene as Konohamaru snapped out of his daze, alarmed at seeing Naruko restrained. Kirisame now turned toward Team 7 with a cold grin. Sasuke stepped forward, signaling Sakura to stay and guard Konohamaru. He began exchanging strikes with Kirisame, the two locked in a taijutsu duel. Kirisame seemed to enjoy the clash, deflecting Sasuke's strikes and landing a knee into his midsection. "You're just a group of kids playing ninja," Kirisame taunted as he elbowed Sasuke, knocking him to the ground. Seeing this, Konohamaru rushed forward, not wanting to see another friend hurt. Murasame and Hisame watched from a distance, amused. "You've let us down, Phoenix Flame. Maybe your reputation was overblown," Hisame mocked as a light jolt of chakra pulsed through the whip, causing Naruko to wince. Konohamaru now lay on the ground, his forehead protector knocked aside. Kirisame stepped on it with a mocking tone, "Like I said. Just kids pretending to be shinobi." Sakura started to move, but Sasuke held her back, urging caution. Konohamaru was still trembling, barely managing to dodge Kirisame's next attack. "I can't do this. I can't even move," he thought, until his eyes landed on his fallen forehead protector. Flashback. A 10-year-old Naruko sat next to a 6-year-old Konohamaru under a tree, with their tutor Ebisu watching nearby. "Gigi gave me this name. Konohamaru. I'm named after the village." "But..." Konohamaru's voice was quiet. "No one really calls me that. They just say the third's grandson. I want to make a name for myself. I want to be Hokage." Naruko chuckled softly, which turned into gentle laughter. "What's so funny?" Konohamaru demanded, frustrated. Still smiling, Naruko looked at him with kind eyes. "Who would respect someone who's not ready to earn that name?" she asked seriously. "If you really want to be Hokage." "Yeah? Then what?" Konohamaru asked eagerly. "Then you'll have to surpass me first," Naruko said with a confident grin, the kind that made people believe in her. "If you want people to see you as strong, then wear your forehead protector proudly. It shows who you are becoming. There's no shortcut to strength or to being Hokage." With those final words, Naruko walked away, leaving the young boy staring after her, filled with admiration and determination. Flashback ends. Reinvigorated by the memory, Konohamaru clenched his fists and rose to his feet, now focused, no longer afraid. "That's right. I still have something to do. I still have a goal to fulfill," Konohamaru thought as he swiftly dodged Kirisame's kick and rolled to safety. "I won't need to be rescued anymore. I promise on the leaf symbol that I'll make everyone recognize me," he affirmed as he stood firmly, with Sasuke and Sakura quickly joining him. "Are you all right, Konohamaru?" Sasuke asked, his eyes still focused on Kirisame. "Sasuke, take the team and return to the village," Naruko called out. But her words were interrupted by a surge of energy directed at her. "Quiet. Let Kirisame enjoy himself," Murasame said coldly, as Naruko clenched her jaw and fell silent. "Once I'm free," Naruko thought, spotting movement out of the corner of her eye. "No, Konohamaru, don't." Konohamaru shouted and dashed toward Kirisame with determination. Sasuke and Sakura tried to stop him, but it was too late. Kirisame countered with a strong kick that sent Konohamaru back. But Sakura noticed something. Konohamaru was holding something tightly. His forehead protector? She thought just before Konohamaru turned to speak. "You guys. I have a plan," he said. But Naruko once again urged them to leave while they could. "It's too late for that, senpai. And you told us before, those who abandon their friends are worse than those who break the rules," Sasuke said, stepping closer to Konohamaru to hear the plan. Sakura stood quietly, impressed that Konohamaru had managed to think clearly in such a tense situation. "Why don't you listen to what your team leader said and retreat?" Kirisame taunted. But suddenly, Team 7 charged forward. Konohamaru led the attack, Sasuke pulling a folded weapon from his pouch while Sakura armed herself with shuriken. "Fuma shuriken," Sasuke called as he launched the spinning blade. Sakura followed suit, throwing hers in rapid succession. Konohamaru quickly completed a set of hand seals. "Ninpa, Konoha Kiri shuriken. Leaf cutter shurikens," he cried out, as leaves around them began to spin rapidly, forming a barrage of cutting projectiles. Kirisame caught the first Fuma shuriken but missed the hidden second one, which sliced through the air toward him. A shadow shuriken tactic, he realized, jumping away just in time. Murasame and Hisame, preoccupied with their weapons, weren't as lucky. The spinning leaves struck them directly, halting their movements. Kirisame charged forward in response but found himself surrounded. Team 7 had him cornered. Each member executed different hand seals at once. Kirisame, look out. Hisame called in alarm, preparing to fire another surge of energy toward Naruko. It's a little late for that, Naruko said calmly, her eyes focused. In an instant, Kirisame was caught in a coordinated trio of fire-style techniques, Sasuke's Great Fireball, Sakura's Phoenix Flower, and Konohamaru's Dragon Flame. Flames burst forth in synchronized strikes. Hisame, angered by the outcome, sent out another burst of energy toward Naruko. But she realized too late, Murasame had accidentally let go of her whip. It had been frozen solid, and sharp icy spikes now pressed into her hand. The three attackers regrouped, clearly exhausted. Naruko joined her team and praised them. You've all come a long way. You've proven yourselves. She then drew her sword, preparing to defend her team from any further threats. Suddenly, dozens of umbrellas appeared in the sky, spinning and releasing sharp needles. Great! Naruko muttered as she deflected them with her sword. Team 7 followed her lead, shielding themselves and each other. Naruko's blade spun with precision, forming a barrier and slicing the needles apart. But things took a turn. They were surrounded. A thick mist rolled in, and 20 more enemies emerged from the shadows. Protect the scroll. And protect yourselves, Naruko said, standing firm. Then, performing a hand seal, she called out. Tajuu Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Dozens of shadow clones appeared, charging into the fray with spirited battle cries. Suddenly, the leader of the opposing group arrived, tall, confident, and armed with a sword of glowing yellow lightning. Konoha's guardian. Bringing fear to rogue shinobi, the man said mockingly as he stepped forward. Rokusho Aoi, Naruko said, preparing for battle. Aoi scoffed. You're still just a child. No match for my forces. I came prepared this time, he said, gesturing to his army. Advance. Leave nothing behind, he ordered as he stepped back into the crowd. Get back here, Naruko shouted as she weaved through the attackers. Her sword glowed as it clashed with theirs. With every strike, shadowy figures vanished into the mist. Naruko's clones fought in the trees while she led on the ground. Shinobi style, Dance of the Crescent Moon. She called as 5 clones moved with her, overwhelming their opponents. Team 7 continued defending themselves, but fatigue began to take its toll. The mist thickened, and no one noticed its true purpose. Naruko panted, trying to keep up her energy. There's too many. She thought, barely dodging another strike. A loud voice echoed through the mist. Water style, Giant Vortex Technique. A massive torrent swept through the battlefield, scattering enemies. Naruko quickly formed hand seals. Earth style, Earth Dragon Avalanche, she whispered, as a massive wave of earth surged forward, trapping many enemies. Sasuke, Sakura, and Konohamaru exhaled in relief as 2 new allies appeared, joined by a long chain that they used to skillfully defend Team 7. After the rest of the attackers scattered, the team made their way to Naruko. She sat, catching her breath, as a tall figure approached. Well done, team, she said, exhausted. I need a break, she murmured to herself as a familiar voice stirred her thoughts. Don't worry. Naruko is just tired and used too much chakra, the man reassured them with a smile, lifting Naruko gently and securing her sword in its sheath. Come on. You all need rest, said the tall man, Momochi Zabuza. Team 7 followed without question. Zabuza's presence was calm and commanding. His vest mirrored Naruko's, though it was open, showing his chest. They were still full of questions. Who was Zabuza? Why did Naruko know him? And how did she come to wield the legendary Raijin sword, the weapon once held by the second Hokage? But one thought echoed most clearly in their minds. Why is Naruko called the Guardian of the Leaf? Naruko slowly opened her bright cerulean eyes, her ears catching the distant sound of growling. She carefully pushed herself up, realizing that the ground beneath her was damp and cool. Narrowing her eyes, she tried to adjust to the soft, dim light that filled the space around her. Another low growl echoed through the damp tunnel. Great. I'm still unconscious, she thought, as she cautiously made her way toward the source of the noise. Still slightly disoriented, Naruko stumbled forward, heading in the direction of the chamber that housed the mighty fox spirit, Kyubi. As she moved through the corridor, she passed a peculiar door made entirely of ice but didn't stop to question it. Hurry up, Naruko. I don't have all day. Kyubi's voice thundered, growing more impatient by the second. Finally, you show up. Took you long enough, you silly girl. Kyubi grumbled as his enormous tails tapped rhythmically against the bars of his seal. The sound reverberated through the chamber, causing Naruko to wince. Nice work activating those mysterious abilities. You sure know how to stir things up. The fox continued, his voice both annoyed and amused. Oh, be quiet, fox. It's not like I meant to lose control, Naruko muttered while stretching her limbs. The situation got worse than I expected. Do you think I planned to channel my chakra like that? This wouldn't have happened if you had just let me lend you some of my chakra to keep going, Kyubi huffed. Well, next time, if you want to stay out of it, just don't complain when things get messy. Naruko shot back. And I'm still recovering from that energy drain, remember? I'm working on clearing out the last of that leftover toxin, you know, Kyubi growled. I won't always be able to patch you up like this, so stop holding back. All that training you did with those two strange, white-haired mentors, don't waste it. I agree with Kyubi on this one. Naruko-sama, came a new voice from behind her. Turning, Naruko saw a figure dressed in deep black, with untamed raven hair and sharp, calm onyx eyes. Their outfit was sleek and mysterious, blending in with the shadows around them. You used an untested ability in a situation where your own strength would have been enough to win. That was careless, the newcomer said evenly. See? Even the kitchen knife of the spirit world agrees with me. Kyubi chimed in. Naruko took a deep breath and let the two bicker in the background, focusing instead on trying to remember exactly what had happened earlier. You want to argue with me, you overgrown furball? The mysterious figure challenged, stepping toward the sealed chamber. Kyubi growled, his tails pressing against the barrier, but eventually shifted back. I'm more concerned about where you came from, kitchen knife. Kyubi replied. Red chakra flared slightly from the bars, gently weaving toward Naruko, who quietly absorbed it. And the one who wielded you before Naruko. That's what truly unsettles me. That's enough, both of you, Naruko said firmly, the chakra within her slowly blending into her own energy. The moment she spoke, both beings fell quiet. She turned to face them both, one cloaked in black and the other sealed away behind a paper talisman. So, how did the powers shut off? She asked as she sat down calmly. The dark-clad figure, known to her as Zanpaku, gestured for her to follow. Raising an eyebrow, Naruko glanced once at the cage before walking alongside him through the corridors of her subconscious. Eventually, they arrived at the icy chamber she'd seen earlier. What is this place? Naruko asked, placing a hand on the door, surprised it didn't feel cold. That, Naruko-sama, is where the mysterious power you accessed is sealed, at least for now, Zanpaku explained. It deactivated the moment it consumed a large amount of your chakra. I don't know the reason, but it seems this energy has a will of its own. Before Naruko could respond, a soft hissing sound reached their ears. She glanced at Zanpaku, who looked just as puzzled as she was. I don't know what that is either, Naruko-sama. Well, I guess I'll go check it out, she said confidently as she stepped through the doorway. Half her body vanished into the icy chamber. Zanpaku followed closely behind, but as soon as he crossed the threshold, a burst of energy threw him back, slamming him gently against the corridor wall. What was that? Naruko began, but the words were muffled as the doors closed behind her, leaving her inside to face whatever awaited her. Meanwhile, in the real world, Team 7 huddled around Naruko's resting form, concern evident on their faces. Nearby, Tazuna and Zabuza quietly discussed the situation. Inari, Tazuna's young grandson, sat by Naruko's bedside, worry written on his face. His mother, Tsunami, sat at the dining table with Tazuna, while Zabuza stood quietly against the wall, his expression thoughtful. The demon brothers were absent, having been sent by Zabuza to recover useful supplies from the battlefield. Growing impatient, Zabuza stepped into the next room to speak privately with Team 7. Inari-san, excuse me. I need a moment to talk with Naruko's teammates, Zabuza said politely. Inari nodded and waved goodbye to Konohamaru before leaving. You're probably wondering why I called you here. Please hear me out before asking questions, Zabuza began, sitting down. The metallic sound of his arm touching the table rang softly through the room. He flexed it, releasing a puff of steam. This arm was made in the land of snow, crafted from a special chakra-conducting alloy. It connects with me just like a real limb, Zabuza explained as the Genin observed the gleaming silver-blue arm. My original arm was damaged in our previous encounter. During a clash with Naruko-kun's blade, he continued. As a demonstration, water particles in the air condensed in his hand, forming a clear shape. This ability was gifted to me by someone I deeply respected, my late student and adopted son, Haku. He protected both me and Naruko in battle. His legacy lives on in this ability. Flashback. A trio of Anbu stood in a delta formation, surrounded by a large group of mercenaries. In the center of the formation lay three injured figures: the former ninja Momochi Zabuza, his right arm heavily damaged; Haku, his loyal companion, visibly exhausted and hurt; and Uzumaki Naruko, who was lying unconscious, her body pierced by several senbone needles and a small fragment of ice lodged near her shoulder. Not far from the gathered mercenaries stood Gato, a corrupt businessman, grinning smugly as his forces advanced toward the weary shinobi. Kakashi, standing protectively before his team, gripped his father's famed white chakra blade, its glow casting a barrier of warning. Behind him, the team's medic worked quickly to stabilize the injured. Haku, barely holding on, reached for Zabuza's hand, attempting to move closer to the person he cared about deeply. Despite the pain, he turned his head toward the medic and, between shallow breaths, whispered, "Please. Give some of my strength to Zabuza-san. And, if possible, share my heart with the girl I fought." Haku's injuries were serious, but his resolve was unshaken. Kakashi's earlier lightning technique had nearly reached his heart, leaving him in critical condition. Zabuza held his hand tightly, his voice calm but filled with emotion. "You've never been weak, Haku," he said. "You're like family to me." The medic immediately began transferring Haku's blood to Zabuza. As the transfusion continued, the Anbu began the heart-sharing process with Naruko. At the same time, the Kyuubi within her responded, accelerating her healing. As the procedure completed, the medic was amazed as Naruko's injuries mended rapidly, her body reacting uniquely as Haku's heart merged with her own. Zabuza's eyes welled with tears as he witnessed the final moment of his dearest companion. The medic paused in her work, touched by the quiet sorrow between them. Just then, Kakashi's voice called her attention back to the urgent situation as more mercenaries closed in. Kakashi and his fellow Anbu were under pressure, chakra reserves running low from defending against the overwhelming numbers. Swinging his blade, Kakashi sent a wave of energy through the approaching enemies, trying to hold the line. "You're all alone now. Even the so-called demon of the mist can't protect you," Gato shouted triumphantly, signaling his mercenaries, armed with swords and clubs, to charge. Kakashi and his partner quickly took soldier pills to regain their strength. As they braced for the incoming wave, a powerful burst of red chakra erupted from behind them, flooding the warehouse with a strange and intense pressure. The energy was overwhelming. Some of the weaker opponents fell to the ground, paralyzed by the force. Gato's confident expression faltered as sweat formed on his brow. A deep, resonant voice emerged from within the pillar of energy. "You won't get away with this." The figure of a black-clad girl stood in the center of the red storm, her presence radiating a determined and awe-inspiring energy. It was Naruko. Kakashi and the Anbu instinctively moved aside, understanding what this meant. They had seen this energy before, long ago. Naruko, the daughter of the fourth Hokage, now stood infused with the strength of her inner guardian. Knowing they couldn't interfere, Kakashi gave the order for his team to retreat with Zabuza. From outside, they waited as powerful waves of chakra surged through the air, shaking the building. The cries of mercenaries echoed faintly from within, though the Anbu stood silently, not daring to re-enter. When Naruko finally stepped out of the warehouse, calm and steady, her expression was solemn. She carried herself with quiet resolve, her chakra slowly settling. Zabuza stirred just in time to see Naruko emerge. His heart grew heavy when the medic gently presented Haku's body to him. Quietly, the team gathered beneath the bridge they had once worked so hard to protect, choosing a peaceful resting place for their fallen comrade. Zabuza laid his sword, the Kubikiri Hushu, before Haku's grave. Hanging from the hilt was Haku's broken hunter nin mask, a symbol of loyalty, friendship, and a bond that had transcended hardship. End of flashback. Zabuza quietly wiped a tear from the corner of his eye, his expression somber. Team 7 remained respectfully silent, listening attentively to his story. The trade treaty is scheduled to take place in 1 week's time. That day will also mark the beginning of the Wave Festival, Zabuza explained as he poured himself a glass of water from the nearby pitcher. The daimyo of the water country is sending his daughter, Princess Sui Lingheim, to participate in the beauty pageant planned for that day. He took a sip before continuing. Princess Sui Lingheim will be arriving tomorrow with her escort and personal guard. Given the recent incident with the rain nin you encountered, it's important you know that he is actually a missing leaf nin named Rokuso Aoi. I believe his target will be the treaty and the princess, especially during the pageant. The genins nodded solemnly in acknowledgement, showing they understood the seriousness of the situation. I'd like to offer my assistance during the preparation week, Zabuza continued. Since Naruko hasn't recovered just yet, I can help with your training. I won't use the same methods as a typical leaf shinobi, but I assume, considering your leader is Naruko, she's already taught you some discipline. You trying to take my team from me, Zabuza? A familiar voice interrupted. A mop of blonde hair appeared as Naruko began to sit up, her expression calm but determined. Everyone turned toward the voice as she struggled to stand. Stay still, Naruko, you need more time to recover. Using that level of chakra takes a toll, Zabuza advised, concern in his tone. I'll be alright, Zabuza-san. Naruko responded softly, carefully getting to her feet. Though her movements were initially unsteady, she quickly regained her balance. After strapping her equipment back on, she turned to Team 7. You three, outside. 5 seconds. Move it. She ordered with a sharp but motivational tone. The team quickly responded, well aware of Naruko's expectations. As she and Zabuza followed Team 7 out, Naruko stopped briefly in the kitchen to greet the household members. Hi, old man. Tsunami Nichin. Inari. She called out cheerfully as she passed through the kitchen door, Zabuza close behind. Outside, Team 7 stood at attention, waiting. Alright, team. Zabuza-san has kindly offered his help in training. I'm accepting his offer under one condition, Naruko said, glancing at Zabuza. Zabuza raised an invisible brow, curious. For this next week, I want you to hold nothing back, Naruko continued firmly. By the end of it, I want Sakura to improve her chakra control and be able to perform the special jutsu we practiced 3 times together. I want Konohamaru to become proficient in silent combat. And Sasuke. Naruko turned to him, needs to be able to activate and utilize a Sharingan. Zabuza's eyes widened at the mention, looking to Sasuke. Naruko confirmed with a nod. Yes, Zabuza-san, Sasuke is the last Uchiha in Konoha, she said. You train them your way. Meanwhile, I'll be continuing my own training, Naruko stated as she followed Zabuza and the others to a nearby lake. She then split from the group and made her way toward a spacious clearing. There, Naruko stood at the center, breathing steadily as she summoned several shadow clones to encircle her. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, a technique Naruko had long since mastered. She no longer needed to announce it aloud. Having trained under Jiraiya and Kakashi, Naruko had learned 2 techniques once favored by the 4th Hokage, the Rasengan and Shunpo, also known as Warp Step. She had requested to learn Shunshin and Hiraishin no Jutsu, but Jiraiya told her to take it one step at a time and gave her a scroll containing Shunpo as a starting point. Shunpo allowed for short-distance movement, up to 80 meters, while Hiraishin and Shunshin were advanced space-time techniques that required intricate knowledge and symbols. Despite the physical strain, Naruko was determined to master them. She smiled slightly, remembering how thrilled she was when she first performed Rasengan successfully and could use Shunpo without collapsing. Kakashi once told her that the 4th Hokage was known as the Yellow Flash because of these very techniques. The idea of one day earning her own title excited Naruko. Konoha Shunshin. She thought with a grin as she entered a battle-ready state. With a calm breath, she blocked a punch from a clone. The others rushed her all at once, their speeds high, but Naruko was ready, quickly vanishing from their sight with a blur of motion. Meanwhile, Zabuza stood in front of the 3 young ninja, observing them closely. Alright, you 3. Show me what you've got, he said, forming a replica of his large blade using water from the air. The genins readied their own weapons. Sasuke's sword sparked with chakra. Konohamaru spun his staff confidently, and Sakura crouched, hands prepared. Let's begin, Zabuza said calmly. Without warning, Team 7 charged. Sasuke moved first. Konoha style, crescent moon dance. He called out, illusions of himself darting forward. Zabuza smiled. You've still got a long way to go with that one, he commented as he skillfully deflected Sasuke's attack and sent him back with a well-timed strike. Konohamaru leapt overhead. Sarutobi style, Ape King's temper, he shouted, raining unpredictable blows with his staff. Zabuza met the attack with his own technique, Mist style, Water Dragon Cutter. The two clashed, but Zabuza's experience gave him the upper hand. Suddenly, Sasuke and Sakura joined in again. Let's go, Sakura shouted, unleashing her technique, Thousand Cherry Blossom Barrage. Her fierce strikes pushed Zabuza back, and a couple of them came dangerously close. Zabuza now had to put in real effort. The coordinated teamwork between the three genins left him no room to form hand signs. Impressive, Naruko, Zabuza thought. These three have excellent teamwork, and their individual growth is ahead of schedule. He finally raised a hand. That's enough for today. The trio halted, panting heavily, their training clearly pushing them to the limit. You've all done well, Zabuza said with a rare smile. Tomorrow, after we welcome the princess, we'll begin water walking and focus on individual improvement. Team 7 moved swiftly, with Zabuza not far behind, heading to where Naruko was in the middle of her training. As they reached the clearing, they were met with a surprising scene: total disarray. Only 2 of Naruko's shadow clones remained, while the area was littered with craters, and smoke gently rose from the scorched ground. Zabuza blinked in astonishment, realizing just how much power Naruko had demonstrated. As he blinked again, the final clones vanished the moment they hit the ground. Now standing in the center of the battlefield was Naruko, calm and alert, holding her blade, Zanpaku, in a defensive stance slightly raised above chest level. Incredible. I didn't even see her move, echoed the collective thought of Team 7 and Zabuza. Their awe was quickly interrupted when Naruko turned toward them with a light smile. Don't ask how I did it. And no, I won't be teaching it, Naruko stated, directing her comment toward both Sasuke and Konohamaru. But why, senpai? Sasuke asked curiously, clearly interested in the technique. Naruko tapped her stomach and then her forehead, leaving the rest unexplained. Team 7 had heard rumors about Naruko being the daughter of the 4th Hokage, but they didn't know the full story. Is it a Kekkei Genkai? Sasuke asked again. Naruko shook her head. No, it's something my father left behind. My dream is to surpass him. Sasuke accepted her answer quietly, though his thoughts returned to his own goal. Naruko's words lingered in his mind every time he thought about his older sibling. Forget about him for now. Instead, focus on surpassing yourself first. Then aim to surpass at least one of the legendary Sannin. Sasuke raised an eyebrow, curious about her reasoning. To reach that level, I need to break past my own limits first. And then at least reach the level of the lowest among the Sannin? Tsunade Heim? He guessed. Naruko shook her head. No. Orochimaru. Sasuke was puzzled by this answer. He had always heard Orochimaru was among the strongest. Now, with these thoughts in mind, each member of Team 7 had a renewed sense of purpose. Konohamaru wanted to be acknowledged just like Naruko. Sasuke set aside his personal mission, focusing instead on personal growth. Sakura, meanwhile, had a clear, honest goal: to become a capable kunoichi who served her village with pride. Naruko found her goal simple but admirable and respected Sakura's determination. Over the next week, Team 7 trained under Zabuza's guidance in the afternoons while taking shifts protecting the visiting princess. Their first encounter with the princess, Heim, defied their expectations. Rather than being pampered or delicate, the princess was composed, graceful, and strong. Heim arrived accompanied by her attendants and bodyguard, Jujin Jo-em. She rode gracefully, dressed in a light blue blouse and fitted black trousers, giving her a dignified and practical appearance. Naruko found herself briefly mesmerized. Heim was strikingly beautiful, with long flowing brown hair and an elegant presence. However, Naruko quickly composed herself, shifting her attention to the bodyguard beside the princess. Jo-em had a commanding presence and emitted a considerable amount of chakra. Welcome to the land of waves, Suiling-sama, Zabuza and Tazuna greeted in unison, and the princess responded with a warm smile. Naruko stepped forward with the rest of her team. She bowed politely and extended her hand to greet the bodyguard. Hi, I'm Jujin Jo-em. Nice to meet you, Jo-em said as they shook hands. Likewise. I'm Uzumaki Naruko, and these are my teammates, she replied, stepping aside so Team 7 could be introduced. Over the next several days, the team became familiar with the princess and her protector. It soon became clear to some of the genin that Jo-em and the princess shared a close bond. Konohamaru seemed mildly annoyed by this discovery, while Sakura found it endearing. Naruko and Sasuke, however, remained focused on their training. Eventually, the day of the pageant arrived. Citizens of the Land of Waves and dignitaries from the Land of Water gathered for the occasion. Team 7 was positioned strategically around the venue, staying alert for any suspicious activity. Naruko was stationed near Jo-em and the contestants, maintaining watch over the princess. Naruko's attention was momentarily caught by contestant number 3, a striking woman with pale blonde hair tied into twin ponytails. She seemed to be concealing an unusually strong chakra presence. Though Naruko initially dismissed the feeling, her instincts told her something wasn't right. She tapped a communication device and gave a quiet command. Team 7, stay alert and look out for anything unusual. Sakura, keep an eye on contestant number 3. Her teammates acknowledged the order. Naruko continued her patrol, staying cautious but composed. Meanwhile, the contestant in question whispered to her assistant. Shizune. There are Konoha shinobi here, but they're just kids. Has Sarutobi-sensei truly entrusted such an important task to them? It's alright, Tsunade-sama, Shizune replied calmly. We'll just win the pageant and quietly make our exit. Although, that blonde girl looked familiar. Tsunade remained quiet, her thoughts briefly drifting to a memory of a small baby she once held at the Hokage's request. Could it really be you, Naruko-chan? As the pageant began, Team 7 and Joe M stayed vigilant. When feathers suddenly began to fall from above, much of the crowd quickly fell under a genjutsu-induced sleep. Thanks to Naruko's earlier training, Team 7 instantly dispelled the illusion and moved into action. Naruko, watching from above, observed her team's quick response with pride. Joe M immediately moved to protect the princess, his sword drawn and ready. Guard the contestants, Naruko instructed calmly as she jumped down from the catwalk to the center of the chaos. In a cloud of smoke, several rain nin appeared, led by Rokuso Aoi. The former leaf shinobi smirked as he entered the scene. Children and a royal guard think they can stop me? Aoi scoffed, clearly underestimating his opponents. Without warning, the ground beneath him shifted. Earth-style, headhunter jutsu. Naruko's voice echoed, but Aoi managed to leap away just in time. Naruko stepped forward, brushing dust from her clothes, her gaze calm and focused. Aoi. I'm here to stop you from hurting anyone else, she said firmly, readying herself as Aoi signaled his forces to attack. The rest of Team 7 engaged their respective opponents. Sasuke fought Murasame with surprising efficiency, using his training and instincts. Sakura faced off against Hisame, matching her water-based attacks with precise chakra control and strategic thinking. Konohamaru used stealth in his training to challenge Kirisame, combining sensor skills and clever tactics. Each member of Team 7 rose to the occasion, showcasing their growth and teamwork. Sasuke even activated his Sharingan for the first time during the battle, gaining clarity and confidence in his abilities. Sakura demonstrated tactical brilliance and resilience. Konohamaru proved his creativity and determination. As the fight continued, Naruko held her ground against Aoi, her resolve unwavering. Though the threat was real, the courage and unity of Team 7 made all the difference. Naruko skillfully pushed Aoi back with Zanpaku, the black blade nearly meeting Raijin's bright yellow sword. She swiftly leapt backward to avoid senbone needles launched by a rain ninja to her right. Joe M joined the battle, using his sword to subdue the rain ninja. Aoi began performing a sequence of hand seals that were familiar to both Joe M and Naruko. Not to be outdone, Naruko performed her own series of hand seals. Huton, Kauski Shuriken, Ice Element, Crystal Shuriken, Naruko thought, as the water puddle before her hardened into a crystal-clear ice shuriken. She gathered 3 of the shurikens and began channeling her chakra, drawing on the techniques Haku had taught her. Time to demonstrate what Haku showed me. Aoi completed his hand seals, a confident smile on his face as a large amount of water surged behind him. Suten, Suryudan no Jutsu. He announced. The water formed into the shape of a roaring dragon that lunged toward Naruko. She quickly threw the ice shurikens at the water dragon. The dragon opened its watery mouth and absorbed the chakra-filled shurikens, causing Aoi to chuckle at her efforts. Naruko smiled confidently and crossed her hands, stretching her fingers like a puppeteer's. Haijutsu, Hairyu Shu Kugatsu. Advanced technique, Ice Dragon Mirror Puppet, she declared. Aoi's water dragon suddenly froze mid-motion as the crystal shurikens took effect. Chakra strings appeared from Naruko's fingers as she directed the ice dragon puppet toward a surprised Aoi. Shaking off his surprise, Aoi charged forward, using Raijin's blade to try and block the ice dragon's sharp attack. He redirected the ice dragon's teeth with the chakra blade and continued charging ahead. Naruko braced herself, ready to block Aoi's strike, but she quickly realized he wasn't aiming for her. Instead, Aoi's target was Suilingheim, who was momentarily unprotected due to the ongoing battle between Joe M and Naruko. Oh no, Naruko thought, alarmed. Aoi's smile grew as he pulled his hand back, preparing to strike Suilingheim with Raijin's blade. Suddenly, Joe M stepped in her path. The blade connected with Joe M's midsection. Get out of my way, Aoi shouted, trying to pull the blade free, but Joe M held firm. Suiling froze in shock at the sudden event. Naruko immediately teleported beside Aoi and gently pushed him into a nearby post. She carefully removed Raijin's blade and began administering first aid. Nearby, Tsunade, visibly shaken by the sight of the injury, was comforted by Shizune, who tried to calm her. Suiling, still in shock, crawled toward Joem's side, tears streaming as she pleaded for him to hold on. As Naruko worked to stop the bleeding from Joem's serious injury, she noticed Tsunade approaching. "Tsunade-san?" Naruko called out, trying to stay calm as she assessed the situation. Desperate to save the brave bodyguard, Naruko ran to Tsunade and implored her for help. "Please, Tsunade-san, help treat Joem," she said urgently, pointing toward the injured man. Though still trembling from her fears, Tsunade caught sight of the distressed Suiling and was reminded of her own past losses. She looked at Naruko, recalling the determination in her eyes and the dreams she carried. Steeling herself, Tsunade rose and began treating Joem's wounds with Shizune's assistance. Shizune reassured Suiling that everything would be all right now. Naruko stood up, facing a determined Aoi. She glanced calmly at her three teammates, who stood ready. "Watch closely, because you'll be learning this technique when we return to Konoha," Naruko said. Then, with a step forward, she vanished in a burst of black light. Aoi responded by sending senbone needles from his umbrella toward the shadowy figure rushing at him. Frustrated, he redirected his attacks toward the others and Tsunade. "Stop this. Targeting defenseless people and those who are hurt is not honorable," Naruko called out, intercepting the senbone needles as she advanced again. Aoi retreated, quickly performing hand seals that ended with a tiger sign. "Kaden, Gukakyu no Jutsu," he shouted, launching a large fireball toward the dark blur. Naruko stared at the fireball as it approached. Closing her eyes, she summoned a fierce roar of chakra. The fireball extinguished suddenly, overpowered by Naruko's powerful energy. She appeared behind Aoi, icy mist escaping from her. "Haijutsu, Mikyu Hyuzu," she announced, pouring her remaining chakra into the icy powers. The mist formed a dome of ice mirrors around Aoi. Onlookers watched as the dome took shape. From within the mirrors, a dark figure attacked Aoi, who struggled against the repeated strikes. The figure passed by him, leaving numerous marks on Aoi's arms and torso. Aoi attempted to retaliate with another fire jutsu, but Naruko was ready. "You don't believe I'm serious? Let me show you why this sword is called Zanpaku," Naruko said, biting her thumb and smearing the chakra onto Zanpaku's black blade. Red kanji appeared glowing along the sword. "Zanpaku, look forward. Kushios, Taiso no Rozudo Kanpaku." Summoning Requiem of the Lost Souls, Naruko raised the sword high as black flames erupted, taking the shape of a falcon. The black falcon dived at Aoi with great speed, striking his chest with burning talons. Naruko landed, breathing heavily as the flames on Zanpaku faded. Tsunade and Shizune stood proudly beside the now stabilized Joem. Suiling sat beside Joem, gently placing his head on her lap. Naruko smiled softly at the tender scene. Soon, Team 7 joined them to celebrate the success of their first C-rank mission. 3 days later. Naruko stood by the entrance of the tent, watching the judges announce the winners of the beauty pageant. Behind her, Team 7 relaxed and enjoyed the event, all three Jinan beaming when Suiling's name was called as first runner-up. To everyone's surprise, Tsunade was crowned Miss Wave Country, holding the prize money with a joyful grin. Those debts of hers, Naruko thought, following Konohamaru and Sakura to congratulate Suiling and Tsunade. Joem, with one arm in a sling and bandages wrapped around his torso, was already by Suiling's side congratulating her. Tsunade playfully wrestled Shizune for the prize money, eager to visit the nearby casino. After the celebration and some light gambling, Zabuza and the townsfolk escorted Naruko and Team 7 to the completed bridge, where Tazuna was waiting. Naruko spoke quietly with Tsunade on the way. "Kasan, will you be coming back to Konoha with us?" Naruko asked carefully, hoping to keep her hopes quiet. Tsunade was silent for a moment before replying, "Do you still have the necklace I gave you?" Naruko nodded and revealed the emerald stone hanging from her neck. Tsunade smiled, gently placing a hand on her chin and giving her a gentle kiss on the forehead. Naruko's eyes widened in surprise as Tsunade grinned warmly. "I will come with you to Konoha, Naruko-kun," she said. "I want to start the Medical Ninja Academy Sarutobi-sensei promised me long ago." The group reached the bridge, where a large sign was covered with cloth. Tazuna and Zabuza pulled it away to reveal the name. "Naruko-kun, not long ago you helped bring hope back to our country and freed us from oppression. In gratitude, we, the people of Wave Country, would like to name this the Great Naruko Bridge, in your honor, Tazuna announced. Naruko was quiet for a moment, then bowed respectfully to the people of Wave Country. Thank you for this honor. I was only doing my duty as a shinobi, she replied. Drawing zanpaku, she cut the ribbon to officially open the bridge for all travelers. The people of Wave Country warmly bid farewell to the departing Konoha shinobi. Naruko quickly signaled for her team to pick up the pace while Tsunade and Shizune simply smiled and followed the group back to Konoha. Unnoticed by the others, Naruko's eyes gleamed with determination behind her mask ever since they had departed. Always remember this, Team 7. A shinobi is both a tool and a person. A tool for the village and the country, but also an individual who must use her mind and heart to make thoughtful decisions. Live a life without regrets. And always keep your promises. This is my shinobi way. It's up to each of you to create your own path. Dear YouTube community. That concludes today's content. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing to my channel. Thank you for your continued support. Best regards. 6 Path Weeb.